Well, hello there, Space Monkeys. Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden, and I'm back. I missed you guys. It's going to be a good season here. Got through my shit, and I'm ready to get out there and bust some chops again. We're going to do a quick PFC update. I'm going to be doing longer episodes, but a little bit less frequent episodes for the second season. I'm going to try to do 2 stories, maybe 3 per episode, so the length of the episodes will be a little bit longer. So I hope you guys like that. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the boutique left, mainly about how they have now shown their hand on how they intend to treat uprisings of workers by not only actively smearing people and trying to nerf the protest by picking outlier groups that are there and painting the entire protest as if it's Charlottesville, like they did with the Canadian trucker convoy. That's what Ryan Grimm did. You know, he wants to equate a whole bunch of white supremacists with tiki torches trying to defend a Confederate monument to a whole bunch of working class truckers who are standing up to tyranny and are doing so they don't have to get vaccinated to keep their jobs. Those two things are not the same thing. So that's one thing the boutique left is doing. The other thing they're doing is advocating for actual police violence. That's what Hasan Piker did. So this is kind of interesting. Are those real leftists if they are advocating for a baby bit of police batoning to peaceful protesters honking their horns too much for Hasan Piker's liking? Does that sound like somebody who cares about humans and workers and poor people? I don't think so. So we're going to have a discussion real quickly about that. And also, secondly, I think that the boutique left has also now kind of picked their champion as the person that they're going to futilely run in a primary challenge against Biden or Harris or Buttigieg in 2024. And I think that person is Marianne Williamson. So let's actually start with that. The reason I say that is because she's been making her rounds on a bunch of shows recently. And, you know, she has decent rhetoric as far as, like, you know, the boutique left goes, but she was recently on a show with Crystal Ball, Katie Halper, and Brianna Joy Gray on the Breaking Point set, I believe it was, and Marianne had some really cringe takes. She was really advocating for us to vote hard and donate hard to Justice Democrats to get them in office because, quote unquote, a lot of these people are phenomenal people who would really make a difference if they got in there. That's what she said. And to that I would say, Marianne, what evidence do you have that anybody's going to go in there and make a difference? Name one of the Justice Democrats that we've already put in there that has done anything to help anything that they ran on. Have any of them stood up to Nancy Pelosi? I haven't seen that. Have any of them banded together to vote as a block to block anything? There's been numerous times over the last year, 14 months, where they could have blocked the Capitol Police budget, for instance, or the infrastructure bill written by the Republicans. They could have blocked that as well. That's called the Invest in America Act, I believe. That's corporate giveaway to, you know, all of these companies for our infrastructure, and it was written by Republicans. They could have blocked that. There has been numerous other times they gave money to Iron Dome. So what evidence do you have, Marianne, that just putting more of these people in office is going to change things? You'd think that she might even think that these people are in fact better people than the ones we already put in there. What evidence do you have for that either? I don't think that these people are any stronger than Omar or AOC or Rashida Tlaib. I don't think that they are like categorically different or more brave than the people we've already put in there. And so I don't believe that this is a good strat. And I think the reason Marianne's doing it is I think she's thinking of primarying Joe Biden. And I think that's the reason she's making her rounds on a lot of these kind of more boutique lefty channels, is because they're trying to promote her. I asked in my last season of PFC, even if I were to grant you, Democratic reformationists, that they're not going to cheat somebody in the primaries, which I don't know why I would grant you that because we've already seen them do it to Bernie twice. But even if I were to grant you it was a free and fair election through the primaries, you guys don't have somebody to pick up Bernie's mantle. You don't have that person. That person does not exist. They understand now, I think, that Nina Turner's not that person. She just lost her congressional run. She's running again. And I think they know what we all know, which is she's going to get killed in this next one. There's no way that she's going to do better against Shontel Brown, who's now the incumbent, than she did last time. especially considering that she hasn't changed her rhetoric, and we already out-donated Shontel Brown's crew 2-1 in that congressional run. So I think the boutique left understands that Nina Turner is not going to be the person to pick up Bernie's mantle in 2024 because she'll recently be coming off of 2 congressional losses and 3 years at TYT. That ain't going to cut it. So I think they're looking for other people. I think Marianne Williamson is the person they've come to, and that's who they're going to have primary Joe Biden. Now, if you don't know anything about politics, you might think, oh, well, that seems like a good strategy. But if you have been paying attention at all over the last 2.5 years, you would remember that Marianne Williamson never polled higher than like 4%. I think that's the highest I ever saw her in the primaries. She didn't even make I think it was the 3rd debate. She was only on 2 or 3 debates tops because she couldn't make the cutoffs to get into further debates. And now a lot of people will go, yeah, but the criteria that they were using to get into the debates was changed so that Tulsi couldn't get on there and Mike Gravel couldn't get on there, so they were cheating that way. And I would say, yeah, that's further evidence to my theory that it's a fool's errand because they're going to do that shit again to her. She might end up on 1 or 2 debates tops and she'll flame out and it'll be a fucking embarrassment for all of you Democratic reformationists. But they don't think that far ahead, or they're just perfectly happy with an anemic-ass primary against Biden or Harris or whoever, and it'll be embarrassing for them, but they don't care. The status quo gets maintained, so they just need to put out the facade that they actually did something, which is just running Marianne Williamson. This is not going to work, and if they decide to do it, which, hear me now, quote me later when they actually try it, and Marianne flames out hardcore, I'm just going to say I told you so and make fun of these fools constantly because they deserve it. This doesn't make any sense from a strategic standpoint whatsoever. I mean, in what world do you live in where Marianne polls at 20 or 30% that she would need to actually make an influence in that primary? It's not going to happen. No matter how much you promote her on Secular Talk or Breaking Points or on whatever, boutique lefty channel, she's not going to gain the momentum that you need to actually change anything. She probably won't even poll high enough to get through a couple of debates, and therefore she won't even have any influence on the rhetoric. So I don't see how this is viable, but I think that's what they're doing right now. It's a terrible idea, and it's yet again the boutique left running headfirst into a brick wall over and over and over again, so much so that it seems they have brain damage now. I'm an objectivist. I already ran headfirst into that brick wall by giving a whole bunch of money to AOC and a whole bunch of the other Justice Democrats that did get elected. I donated to like 15 of those people, and my return on investment has been 0. So I'm not going to run headfirst into that brick wall again because I don't live in a world that's all, candy and rainbows and cuddly kittens. Marianne's going to get trounced. It won't have barely an effect at all on the establishment when you run her. So you've heard it here first. It's a dumbass idea, and they're definitely going to go with it, and it's because they're dumbasses. Status quo defending dumbasses. So let's move on to the next thing, which is there was a tweet. Well, we'll say that for last. We'll talk actually next about how the boutique left is nerfing momentum for worker uprisings. Now, you've seen 2 different things that they have done recently when it comes to the Canadian trucker convoy that is actually working very well up in Canada. The truckers shut down Canada using what's called the ink blot strategy of basically shutting down high transportation areas, blocking bridges and stuff like that with their trucks because they're protesting the vaccine mandates. Now, the first thing that the boutique left has done is they will act like this isn't a worker uprising or a protest by poor people at all, and instead single out small little sects of the protest that happen to be like alt-right or Trumpists and try to paint them all as that. Now, that's not at all surprising. Ryan Grimm went out there and literally tried to compare the Canadian trucker convoy to the Charlottesville protest, which was a whole bunch of white supremacists with tiki torches saying the Jews will not replace us. That is not the same as a bunch of working class people that are extremely diverse standing up to the Canadian government, who is trying to basically create a tyrannical system where you have to get vaccinated, otherwise you lose your job. And in fact, they've gone more tyrannical since it started because the truckers have them backed up against the wall, and now they're starting to freeze the bank accounts of anybody who donates to the truckers. Now, is that authoritarianism or is it not? I think it is. But yet you'll see a whole bunch of boutique lefties focusing more on, well, there's a couple of right-wingers that are funding this. Oh, there was some, Nazis there. Or they try to paint everybody there as a Nazi, overlooking the fact that these people are really standing up against authoritarianism. The people that are smearing the trucker convoy right now, they see everything still as red versus blue. And they will not apparently endorse any type of worker protest unless everybody that goes to the protest happens to be Democrat and believes in exactly the same things that they do. If they find one little disagreement that they have with everybody that's showing up to the protest, they immediately dismiss the entire protest because that it doesn't 100%, it's not 100% simpatico with their own ideology, which is a ridiculous reason to not back up a protest, especially if you agree with the principle of the protest, which I do. I'm against vaccine mandates, so I don't really give a shit who's going to be at the protest. I'm with you. If it's an effective protest and I agree with the principle of the protest, I don't really give a shit if you wear a blue or a red tie to work. But apparently there's a bunch of boutique lefties who really, really care that if you're wearing a red tie to work and you're protesting against something that I even agree with, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. The other thing that they're doing, which is worse, is what Hasan Piker did. He went out on his show that has 1 million subscribers plus and literally advocated for police brutality to be used against the protesters simply because they were honking their horns. He said that's hella annoying and they just need a baby bit of a baton shoved up their ass. Just a baby bit of police brutality. And then, of course, a whole bunch of the Mounties, the Canadian mounted police officers, were called in and they trampled an old lady with a walker or like a scooter. They trampled her, and Hasan Piker saw that and he doubled down and didn't apologize for calling for that exact thing to happen. And you remember, I got in some trouble for my rap that I wrote about Hasan Piker. Yeah, those people that went after me are suddenly very quiet now that Hasan's actually going out there and advocating for violence. So who's the violent one? Who's the violent one? And that's the type of thing that these people do. We're really seeing some mask-off moments here, you guys. We're still really seeing who the people are that are wolves in sheep's clothing in the leftist movement, who still see everything as Republican versus Democrat by their response to the trucker convoy. If they're smearing the trucker convoy as all alt-right or all Trumpists or all Nazis or all fascists, they still see things as red versus blue. And they don't want nothing to do with any worker uprisings if there's going to be Republicans there. That's one thing that they do, and some of them are even going so far as to say that those people should have their bank accounts frozen, which is exactly what Justin Trudeau is trying to do now. If you've donated to the truckers convoy or if you're a part of it online, they find out and they're going to freeze your bank accounts, making it so that you can't access your money if you happen to have donated to this worker uprising. And Hasan Piker has even advocated for the police brutalizing protesters. Does that sound like people that are humanists? Does that sound like people that actually want to stand in solidarity to get things done with their fellow proletariat, with their fellow poor people? I don't think that sounds like those people. I think that those people are pro-authoritarian. I think that they only want to promote leftist values and movements insofar as it makes them money. As soon as the rubber meets the road and it comes down to, let's say, even just promoting, let's say, the General Strike Summit or the March for Medicare for All, the, Force the Vote, all of the things that could actually make a difference and that are useful in promoting leftist values and trying to get legislation done, they not only don't promote those things, they actively come out and attack them. So I don't believe that we're going to be able to work with the boutique left. I will set aside some criteria, my criteria for if we ever can reconcile things with the boutique left channels. They have to do this. They have to be able to show me that they're willing to turn on the squad in the Democratic Party in a tangible way. And what that means is you go out on your show and you apologize. You say, I'm sorry, the Justice Democrat experiment didn't work. I'm sorry you donated so much money to these people and that we propped them up for the last couple of years and you've gotten no return on your investment. So we apologize, but we understand that the experiment taught us something, that this is a failed strategy, and we're no longer donating to them. We're no longer voting for them until they actually show us that they can fight. They have to go in there and vote as a block. They have to do some things beyond tweeting to actually get some things done. And if the boutique left channels that have Like TYT has 5 million subs. Kyle Kalinske has under 1 million, but almost a million subs. If they can go out there and use their platforms to strong arm the squad by saying that on their show and apologizing for backing them up for so long, we're good. We're good. We can work together. But until you prove to me that you can admit a failed strategy when you see it, there's no reason for me to waste my breath. Because either you're a bad faith actor and you don't really want things to change, you're just pretending that you want to put out useful strategies, or you're dumb as fuck and you are unintentionally going with failed strategies over and over and over and over again and not learning your lesson. And I can't work with that either. So that's my criteria. If they can come out on their show, say we're not donating to the squad, we're not voting for the squad, and we are going to abandon the Democratic Party until they show us they have signs of life, I can't work with these people. And I have no interest in talking to them about any of this stuff because it'll be in one ear out the other. So, lastly here, guys, I want to give mad props to Aaron Mate for starting off the PFC Season 2 strong. He went out there yesterday and basically bodied Vaush for attacking him. Now, I'm going to read to you the actual tweet on Twitter here. But this is an example of PFC that's important. And part of the reason I created it is that there are naturally going to be trolls that work for the establishment that will come out and attack people that are journalists and who are honest actors all the time. And in my opinion, it's always good to stay on the substance of the conversation. But if you get attacked by a troll in a troll-like way, I have no problem with you lashing back out and making fun of people and embarrassing them publicly. Now, Vaush is like, he wants to be King Troll. He can't be King Troll because I'm King Troll, but he wants to be King Troll. So what he does is he goes out there and says horrible fucking things about like Julian Assange, or about, in recent tweet, but not this recent, Aaron Mate's father and the Holocaust. That was horrible. But we have to come to expect this because we're seeing a whole bunch of Vaushis out there that do this tactic. They will talk politics, but mostly they're just trolls who give the veneer of political commentators. Right? And you have to be able to clap back against those people. So I like that Aaron actually did this to him, even though it wasn't entirely substance-based. It was at the beginning, but at the end it wasn't. I'm going to read to you the tweet that Aaron put out here. He was trying to critique the sensationalizing of these headlines that are trying to push us into war with Russia. And one of them was absolutely ridiculous, and we have no evidence that it's actually happened, and Aaron was making a critique. So the tweet that came out was from John Hudson, and he said, "Scoop, U.S. says Russia is compiling a list of Ukrainians, quote, to be killed or sent to camps following a military occupation. The allegation is in the letter to the UN sent Sunday and obtained by the Washington Post." And Aaron Mate retweeted with this, "Jokes aside, this ranks as one of the most cynical and offensive U.S. intelligent propaganda attempts ever, up there with Gaddafi's mass Viagra pills or Kuwaiti babies seized from incubators." So he's making fun of the fact that this is what the government does, the establishment does. They'll make up any inflammatory, disgusting headlines they can about somebody they want to go to war with, to try to manufacture consent with the people that read or watch those shows that, oh, we need to go to war with Russia. It's like the Russian bounty headlines that we saw way back in the day. That was all completely bogus, that Putin was putting bounties on the heads of like American soldiers. It was 100% bullshit. But they were trying to manufacture consent back then to, escalate with Russia, and that's what they're doing here. And Aaron called him out, and he had a wonderful tweet that had 6,500 likes. And then, of course, Vaushi, he had to come in and be a troll. He wanted to ratio Aaron Mate, and it didn't go so fucking well. So here's what he said. He said, L plus Russian propagandist plus imperialist plus war crime apologist plus you get no bitches plus ratio. And initially, when this first came in, Vaush did get the ratio, and it didn't go well after a few hours. Aaron came back and did this. He posted a link to pedo.help, the website to help offer understanding and support to prevent child sexual abuse, which I think is fucking hilarious. And then Vaush responded, "Why do you have pedo websites ready to link to people? Get help." And then Aaron Mate said, and this is the last nail in the coffin here, he says, "The only time I've heard your name, aside from trying to whitewash a CIA dirty war in Syria, was when you advocated for lowering the age of consent. I'm directing you to a resource that could be useful for you." So that tweet right there tripled up Vaush's likes. So it's funny to me because Vaush came in there with the intent on ratioing, so much so that he actually put ratio in the first tweet, and then Aaron Mate uppercutted him and knocked his fat Java ass out. And that makes me very happy. And even Aaron didn't go entirely like in the gutter. He still goes, you suck because you whitewashed the dirty war run by the CIA in Syria, and you're a pedophile. He could have just gone, the only reason I know about you is because one time when I saw you playing Zelda on your show, you were talking about lowering the age of consent. He could have just gone straight pedo, which is something I would do, but Aaron's better than me. He actually went out and had it half substance, half calling Vaush a pedophile, which I appreciate, and Vaush got KO'd. It was hilarious, and good job, Aaron. You just keep doing you, and when these trolls come at you, don't be afraid to knock their troll ass out. Take that club like Harry Potter and conk his head in. Metaphorically, of course. So anyway, that was really hilarious to see. And on the coattails of that, I'd like to tell you guys a couple of jokes here, because you know I like to. These are mostly just musings that I've had over the last week and a half or so. So a little bit out of date, but most of them are up to date anyway. So let's tell a couple of jokes here, and then we'll do another episode later today, okay? So I actually got 20 minutes into Jackass Forever earlier, and it's not actually a Cenk Uygur biopic. Took me that long to figure it out, though. There was recently that whole debacle over Joe Rogan using the N-word in previous episodes. I'll tell you what, that whole debacle, the entire time Kyle Kalinske was looking around like, don't look up my old content. The trucker convoy has been largely rejected by the neolibs, and this is just an observation. When you say that you're going to reject an entire protest or an entire movement based on certain people who attend, that's sort of like if there was like a women's rights march and all of the women's rights people said that men weren't allowed to attend because they just don't understand or they just disagree with everyone's going to be there. Can you imagine that there was like an LGBTQ movement and there were people that were so cynical that were like, well, if you're straight, if you're not LGBTQ, we don't agree enough, you can't come to this protest or this movement. That's how silly this sounds. But I had to put it in context like that for a lot of these people to understand. It's like if you're throwing a feminist parade and no men are allowed to show up or be a part of it. It's counterproductive, and it makes no sense because there are plenty of people that are men that want feminist rights, want women's rights. There's plenty of straight people who want rights for LGBTQ. So it's really weird to like be exclusionary on stuff like that, and it's also counterproductive, if I may say so. Apparently, I'm Still With Her was trending the other day in reference to Hillary Clinton. I'm Still With Her is something Bill would say, with that exasperated, dead look in his eyes like, I'm still with her. And I empathize with Bill on that. I can't imagine why they're still together, other than the fact that she might have him killed if they ever got divorced. And going back to Vaush for a little bit, this is just kind of an observation. Did anyone else find it kind of unnerving that, in fact, when Vaush was talking about lowering the age of consent, that he was actually playing Zelda? And for those of you who don't know what Zelda is, your main character is like this little elf man that wears a skirt, and you jump through all these temples and defeat all these enemies and bosses. It just seems weird to me that Vaush is watching like this young adolescent boy in a skirt playing video games, and he's talking about lowering the age of consent. That just seems fucking weird to me. Also, it's also really weird to me that people will take Vaush seriously considering he's a grown-ass man playing Zelda and talking politics at the same time. I mean, what does it take for you to not take somebody seriously? I don't know. I recently read a headline that said that Biden had set aside a whole bunch of money for crack pipes that he was going to give out to people. Now, that's a little bit of a misleading headline, but let's just take that headline at its word. When I first read it, that Biden was going to hand out tens of millions of crack pipes, my first inclination was, wow, I had no idea that Hunter had that many extra crack pipes. Anyway, that turned out not to be totally accurate. They were talking about safe smoking kits, so I want to be totally honest with you. That's not exactly what happened. But when I read the headline, I was like, dude, that means that Hunter's making some money off of his extra crack pipes. If he can do it with his art, he can do it with his extra crack pipes. They'll figure out a way. Did you guys know that Clinton and Jenk are both C words? I learned that from Sesame Street, along with cookie and cracker. And you guys know, I'll look for any excuse to say the word cracker on my show from here on out. And even though I dislike Hasan Piker very much on his police brutality take, I still think that he should be able to say the word cracker without getting banned. I think the best thing you can do to Hasan Piker to get him in trouble is just to let his dumbass talk. I don't think censoring him is the correct thing to do. So as a cracker, I don't mind if Hasan Piker says cracker, but that's just me. Oh, this was just a little musing I had the other day. I think that Jeffrey Toobin and Anthony Weiner should get married so that they will be the Toobin Wieners. And if there's one thing I know about a Toobin Wiener is that it probably hypothetically jerks off too much. And then lastly here, guys, I would love to tell you one of the best jokes I ever made up about Hillary Clinton, but I'm afraid that she'll have me suicided if I tell it publicly. So I'm going to keep that to myself, and Hillary, please don't kill me. Just for making a joke about you suiciding people. Please don't. Please don't. I didn't mean it personally. So anyway, did I get everybody? I missed you guys. Keep fighting that good fight out there. Congratulations to Aaron Mate for basically beating up the Blob, sort of like Wolverine. It was nice to see Vaush run headfirst into a buzzsaw, though, wasn't it? Nothing makes me happier than seeing that fat slob get whacked, man. That was really fun. Anyway, keep fighting that good fight out there, guys. I have 2 more episodes written. We're going to be talking about a very flawed study on ivermectin and a CNN anchor's reporting on said ivermectin study that is completely disingenuous. That's going to be on Rockfin only because I can't do that on YouTube. And then I've got another one talking about the Freedom Convoy and the hacked information that was released to the public in an attempt to dox a bunch of people donating to that. That was an interesting article by, again, Kit Clarenberg, who's done fabulous work recently. So we're going to be covering that in an episode that's probably going to be Rockfin only. I'm also uploading to Rumble now, and we'll see. Maybe I'll put that episode about that crazy Ellen DeGeneres looking motherfucker hacking people on YouTube. We'll just have to see. Anyway, keep fighting the good fight out there, guys. I love you. It's good to be back. Talk to you later.